the type to play games, you can stay claims. Came to show the movement moving like a freight train, breaking walls and crumble earth with every step we take. We walking by with lash and your neck will break. Never let it stray, so say it wrong or set it straight. So coming at us with an awkward demeanor is leaving your life in the dead of fate. So pedal straight, avoid these shots, we send it all costs. Truly believing that it'll be different, we watching your body get hauled off. Simple as this, we giving the vibe of the revolution that we living within. Diminish the doubt of the haters that talk on the low because of this minuscule shit.
Content warning, this is an editorial, and I'm going to get a little ridiculous just to prove a point. So today I'm responding to this video from my good friend DM Kurt about DC20 being the next D&D killer, but I'm also responding to a video our friend DM Bloodworth made about pretty much the same thing. Which tabletop role-playing game will kill D&D? And it's about, we do this every now and then. We did this with Kelsey, and we did this every other time, you know, and this happens about once a year, usually about the time that the numbers show up on for Kickstarters. Pundit did a video about the numbers on Kickstarters and who and where the money is going. And of course, it's all based upon the fact of this game here that made a ton of money. And everybody's saying DC20 at 1.2 million will be the D&D killer. Which game is going to be crowned the killer of D&D? Who's going to kill D&D? You can't kill, you can't kill D&D. Okay, you can't. Okay, I hate to sound like Garrity or any of the 5e shills, but you can't kill D&D because D&D is not a game. It's a brand. It's an idea. It has ingrained itself into the culture of the world since the 80s that you can't kill it. No game is going to kill D&D. There's nothing that's going to come out on the market that's going to put Hasbro out of business. The greatest enemy to D&D is Wizards of the Coast. They are the greatest enemy. But even if Chris Cox at the next quarterly meeting said, you know what, we're done. We can't support the role-playing game anymore. All these plans we made, once these three books are out, that's it. We're done with D&D. We're shutting Wizards of the Coast down, which could happen in 2027, as you guys know, because I've been talking about this since 2020. That's still on the calendar. That 2027 doom date is still on the calendar. That's still floating over Wizards of the Coast's head. So there's still a possibility out there that by 2027, 2028, if D&D isn't making the money that Hasbro wants it to make, they could shut down that part of Wizards of the Coast. I mean, they don't need Wizards of the Coast. Let's just call a spade a spade. Hasbro doesn't need Wizards of the Coast. At this point, Wizards of the Coast's only job is to distract attention from whatever Hasbro's doing. Every time we complain about some stupid thing that Wizards done, it's Hasbro going, that was them. That's not us. And keeping the press rolling, because even bad press is press. So Hasbro doesn't need, Hasbro doesn't need D&D. And if tomorrow Hasbro said, no more D&D. Once these three books are out, that's it. We're done. You can't kill D&D because you have 100 million people at any given time all over the world playing D&D. So even if they stop producing D&D, people would still be playing D&D. You can't kill D&D because D&D is a brand. It's an idea. DC20 is not going to cause Wizards of the Coast to shut down. Best guess scenario, DC20 could be the next Pathfinder. I doubt it, but it could be. Because there have been moments in the history of the game when it has not been number one, when sales has dropped, when TSR dropped the license to Lorraine, sales dropped. When they switched from second to third, sales dropped. When Wizards of the Coast purchased it and went with 3.5, sales dropped. Sales definitely dropped during fourth. when GURPS came out here in California, D&D sales dropped. Rifts, another game that took the place, Vampire the Masquerade, obviously Magic the Gathering outsold D&D products for a long time, but that was still Wizards of the Coast money, so it doesn't really count. And Pathfinder with the 4th edition nonsense definitely was not number one, but it didn't die. D&D didn't die. DC20 isn't going to kill D&D. No OSR game is going to be crowned the D&D killer of next year, not even Shadowdark. All Shadowdark gets is that she won the OGL wars. Because in order to, so here's where we get to the ridiculous part, right? In responding to DM Kurtz and I'm more responding to Blood Wars, who will be crowned the D&D killer. Nobody's going to kill D&D in 2025. D&D sales might slump in 2025. Sales for DC20 might be okay in 2025 if he gets the support that he needs and runs with it the way Paizo did with Pathfinder. He might hit those Pathfinder numbers. He might be able to rock D&D off the top of the hill. But you got to remember, Pathfinder, Paizo already had stuff ready to go. And they had a huge chunk of stuff ready to go. They were already making stuff for 3.5. They were already making stuff for Wizards when Wizards fucked them over and they decided to make Pathfinder. So they already had stuff in the barrel. We don't know how much stuff DC, Dungeon Coach has other than this game. But he's been running the game. People are talking great about the game. So it could reach GURPS level. It could reach Pathfinder level, but it won't kill D&D. Because there's 100 million people at any given time playing D&D all over the world. You'd have to go to each and every one of those people and stop them from playing. In fact, the only way you could kill D&D, even if Wizards shut down tomorrow and Hasbro said, once these 3 books are on the market, we're done, D&D's not going to die because it's a brand. And Hasbro's been telling you that since 2015. It's a brand. It's an idea. And you can't kill that idea. You would have to have Thanos come down, snap his finger with the Infinity Gauntlet to get people to stop playing. Then you would have to go through an entire generation of people to never mention the word Dungeons and Dragons in order to kill it. Nothing is going to kill D&D. Just like nothing can kill Superman or Mickey Mouse or Hello Kitty or Pikachu or Batman or Star Wars, because it's a generational brand. And as much as people hate this, it is the one thing Hasbro has done right with D&D is they have made it a brand. It has always been ingrained in pop culture. I mean, the Satanic Panic, all the movies, all the stuff that came out in the 80s. I mean, it was the decade of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's been ingrained in pop culture since then. But since Hasbro took over and started milking the brand of D&D, it has ingrained itself into pop culture. You can't make it go away. That's just too branded. There's D&D stamps coming out, for God's sakes. If you go A through Z, there are things that have done or related to D&D. We've got D&D themed stamps. We've got D&D themed food. We've got D&D themed movies, TV, music, video games, clothing. We had D&D night at the zoo to go A to Z. You name it, the D&D brand has been attached to it at least once or will be attached to it somewhere on the planet. So how do you kill D&D, the idea? Sure, sales might drop. Fuck, it might vanish from the market. It would take a long time. But sure, within one generation, you could just completely get it off the shelves. But unless you somehow got every single solitary person on the planet who associated the brand with that name, you can't kill it. And part of the problem in the theory of which tabletop role-playing game is going to be crowned D&D killer is the fact that D&D as a brand is a catch-all. Even if you're not playing Dungeons and Dragons, people will walk by you and go, "Are you playing Dungeons and Dragons?" even if you're not playing Dungeons and Dragons, 8 out of 10 will go, hey, let's go over to Bill's house and play Dungeons and Dragons. But then when you get there, you're playing Wretched Vigilantes. Notice what I did there? So again, that's the brand. If I went to a park with DM Kurt or wherever, and we're playing Wretched Vigilantes, shameless shout out, somebody walks by, sees those dice, they're not going to go, oh, hey, that's Wretched Vigilantes by the OGGM. No, they're going to go, oh, hey, you guys are playing that D&D thing, right? All the time, my mom sees stuff and she goes, Michael, is that D&D? And I go, no, that's something else. You know, if you look at my shelf, are those D&D? Actually, 90% of the stuff on my shelf is not D&D. It's mostly superhero role-playing games. But yeah, no. Again, the branding. I mean, you can hate them for it, but it's the one thing Hasbro has understood, and the one thing they have done right is ingrained it into pop culture. And then Critical Role and the pandemic definitely helped. That just ingrained it into the pop culture even more. I am sure there's places on Earth you could go and people wouldn't know what D&D is. But they are few and far between. And they may never have played the game. They may never have seen the game. They may have never have any idea what the game is. But it's ingrained in pop culture the same way Hello Kitty is, or John Cena is, or Batman is, or, you know, Chicken of the Sea is tuna. Kraft mac and cheese is macaroni and cheese, right? Kellogg's is Pop-Tarts. Sure, there's other brands, but well. Yeah, that's my biggest fear, Ryan, is that it's going to, within 2 months, it's going to end up as another just dust gatherer, and all the people that are singing its praises are either going to turn on it or stop talking about it. Anybody remember Tales from the Valiant? Anybody remember Adventurer Conqueror King 2nd edition? Fuck, even Shadowdark has already kind of faded out. Will DC20 have the staying power that GURPS or Vampire has, or even Pathfinder had? No. Dungeons and Dragons' biggest competitor is itself. Dungeons and Dragons' biggest enemy is Wizards of the Coast. If anybody is going to seriously harm D&D, it's Wizards. And Wizards has a limited shelf time. That's been on those chopping blocks since 2020. That 2027 Doom date is still there. Crawford even mentioned it recently. It's still on the list, and we still know, based up that you know, Hasbro is giving them rope and saying, go ahead, hang yourself. Hasbro has told us what their game plan is. Take everything digital. Slow down and stop physical. Kill D&D, the role-playing game, the tabletop aspect of it. Because we can brand pop culture video. We know the future is digital. We know the future is AI. The only way we make money off of Dungeons and Dragons is licensing it. You can't kill it. So I'm sorry, Unscripted Unchained. No game that comes out next year will be crowned the D&D killer. The closest competition is maybe DC20 with it at 1.2 million, but even then, look, I mean, if we're going to compare it to Pathfinder, you got to remember what else was going on. And you got to also remember that Paizo already had a huge chunk of stuff ready to go. If you're going to compare it to GURPS, which at least here in California was huge, that killed D&D. You got to look at everything else that was going on. Same thing with Rifts, same thing with Vampire. There were other things that were happening that made those games take D&D's place as top sellers. It didn't just happen in the wilderness. The only reason 5e is doing as huge as it is because the pandemic, Critical Role, Stranger Things, and stuff like that. And because Hasbro knows how to brand it. So, yeah, I'm sorry. DC20 is not going to kill D&D. I just don't, of the list of games that I know that are coming out, nothing is going to kill D&D next year. I don't even think Daggerheart's going to do it. Daggerheart might make a lot of money, but kill D&D? Yeah, I don't see it happening. D&D is McDonald's. You know what it is, even though you don't know what it is. Anyways, we do this about once a year, where this usually happens when the numbers come out from for the year for Kickstarter, who made the most money and which Kickstarters were the most successful, And if you look at the Kickstarter numbers, link down below, the OSR Kickstarters consistently made more money than the 5e Kickstarters, because there were more OSR Kickstarters than there were 5e Kickstarters. There's about 280, 300 5e specific, as opposed to the 800, 900 OSR, every game that isn't 5e D&D that came out. And, if you look at how many of those are $1 Million Club members, sure, yeah. If you look how many of the D&D 5e stuff that came out, yeah. Looks like the OSR had more successes than the 5e stuff. OSR is not dying. Yeah, but that's because there were more OSR. And when your limit is, hey, if I make $600, I'm happy, then yeah, of course you're going to have more successes than the 5e stuff. Especially when the 5e stuff is, hey, $80 and we send you a PDF. And Ed from is, hey, $60 and I'll send you the entire thing. So yeah. So this happens every time when this report comes out, when people go, hey, the OSR is doing really, really great. D&D is doing really, really bad. This game's going to kill D&D. It made this much money. This happened last year with Shadowdark, and it happens all the time, and it'll happen again. So yeah, you're the one who used it, DM Kurt. You're the one who started this. By the way, please subscribe to DM Kurt. Help him reach 1,000 subs. Otherwise, he'll probably send me more weird food and try and keep killing me. Anyways, that's it. That's all I've got energy for to talk about today. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know. If you feel I just wasted 20 minutes of your life that you can never get back, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, I see a couple names on here I've never seen before. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Check out my merch on Drive-Thru. Links down below as always. Have a great day. Drive safe. Get off my land.